There he is. Thank you, Brother Mike.
Thank you very much. As has been my history since becoming the pension and then healthcare trustee, it's my pleasure to be with you today to give you an update in regards to the pension fund. The good news in the short term is just that, good news. But there are a number of warning signs that we all should be aware of as we move forward. The current valuation just completed by Siegel has our pension plan funded at 89.3%, with a credit balance of $35 million. That qualifies us for, again, this year, a green zone certification. But having said that, there are a number of trends that are currently impacting our pension fund that I feel obliged to share with everyone. These are concerns that all the trustees, both labor and management, agree are things that we need to work on moving forward. First off is the fact that we have been enjoying a robust, for whatever reason, return on our investments, especially in our stock portfolio. As you may remember, last year I reported that we reduced as a pension plan our assumed rate of return for calculations from 7.5% to 7.25%. That was based on the experience and the expected return moving forward. But having said that, and we did meet the 7.25%, in the next fiscal year, July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021, if the stock market does not hold, which we are all gravely concerned about, and if our return drops below 6.6%, our green zone certification will be in jeopardy, and that alone will impact us dropping into the yellow zone. The second thing, which is a number that I have previously not reported on, but is also part of the zone certification, is our credit balance. Our credit balance, very simply, is the difference between contributions received and contributions made, as well as expenses of running the plan. This number at our current certification is $35 million. That is down again this year, which is the fourth year in a row. If that number continues to decrease, and all things being equal, that number is expected to decrease. That number, not the funding percentage, could trigger us going into a yellow zone certification in future years. Right now, based on the number of contributing employees, the average age and salary of those employees, that $35 million over the next 5 years is expected to be reduced to $2 million. That will definitely impact the future certification. We are continuing to look at rebalancing our investment portfolio. We've done a number of things over the last few years to try to, without creating adverse risk, of increasing those contributions, of trying to gain the maximum amount of dollars based on our investment portfolio. But to be quite candid, there are very few options left. With the reduction in the amount of employment by the participating employers and the average salary level of those employees, we are running into a very precarious situation where our funding level may continue to exceed the 80%, but our credit balance, which is an equally important part of our certification requirements, is going to be the challenge that the pension plan and the trustees need to meet. There are a number of avenues that we are pursuing in regards to this without creating adverse risk. But this is something that we all need to be aware of going forward. The trustees were briefed on this in mid-October. There is an investment committee meeting of which I am a member of the investment committee next week, and a pension trustee meeting in later November. And we hope to come up with some solutions in regards to this to at least mitigate the drop. We are very concerned that this undue rise in the stock market is a bubble at best, and we are trying to protect us against any downside risks that may be happening in regards to it. That's my report in a nutshell in regards to the pension fund.
Thank you, Mike. Let's take some questions. I've got a few hands raised. Dave Coppola, can you unmute?
Yes, thank you very much for that report. It was very detailed and very informative. I was just curious, what does it mean to go into the yellow zone, and what ramifications would that have? And is there another zone lower than yellow that would be bad to be in?
Yes, and it's a zone we don't want to be in, but that's a very good question. The yellow zone gives us, as trustees, on behalf of all the participating employers and the bargaining unit and in participating employees, of coming up with a voluntary action plan to try to mitigate the situation and return everything into the green zone. It is purely voluntary. We would have to file that with the PBGC. There is a number of pieces of legislation that are pending, which could make it a little more costly vis-a-vis all pension plans, including ours, retain PBGC insurance. And there is an open question in some parts in regards to that would impact our insurance premiums. But I mean, the bigger issue is trying to solve for the shortfall and get us back into it. There is a zone below the yellow zone. It is the red zone that would then mandate that we institute a recovery plan. And that recovery plan could impact all aspects of the pension plan. That would be at 70%, which we are not close to at this particular point in time. But I feel obliged to share with you that that is a possibility under a worst case scenario. Stock market crash, other sort of adverse impact in regards to employment levels and things like that.
Thank you.
I think, Steve, you had a question?
Yeah, hi, Mike. I don't know if you can answer this. Are the working members currently negotiating with AFL management about their benefits and so forth going forward?
There have been discussions. I don't want to call them active negotiations in regards to things. Under their current collective bargaining agreement, they're not obliged to open up the pension plan until the next collective bargaining agreement is open. But there is a recognition, and one of the things that is still not addressed, if you remember, there were 3 issues several years ago that I talked about we needed to address. First was the actuarial table, which we have adjusted and is now current. Second is the assumed rate of return, which we have adjusted and may need to be adjusted again, but for the time being is what it is. And the third is the final average salary freeze, which would involve negotiations with the bargaining units for those participating employers who have collective bargaining agreements. There's informal talks, but I would not call them formal negotiations at this point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have a question? Please raise your hand. David Cohen.
Mike, good to see you.
Likewise.
given the uncertainties about funding levels that you're describing, do you have any suggestions about actions that we as individual retirees should be taking?
I'm not sure whether collective action really contributes to the discussion. As I have said before, there is a very constructive joint recognition on both sides of the table of where the plan currently sits. There are a number of actions in the interest of the plan, protecting the benefits for both existing retirees and for participating employees, future retirees, that everybody would like to pursue. I'm not sure whether any sort of collective action is really necessary at this particular point in time. I mean, no one's denying the situation. You know, I serve on the investment committee with President Trumka. I serve on a number of other committees with Secretary Treasurer Schuler. I have numerous conversations during the course of the year with Ed Smith, who is the second largest employer representing ULICO. We all know what's going on. We're all trying to figure this out to, you know, mitigate the harm and protect the benefits we've all enjoyed. I don't think any additional action would serve a, you know, a constructive benefit at this point in time.
I think we have time for one more question or comment. Anyone want to, any hands raised? Anyone on the, Dave, should we open it up to unmute everybody so people on the phone might be able to ask?
You had a hand from Leslie.
Oh, where is he? Leslie, sorry.
Yeah, I just have a question, and I don't know if it fits in with this or not, and you'll tell me if it doesn't fit in with this, but I mean, is there actually a hope or the possibility that, you know, under a Biden presidency, that union membership might be strengthened and rise, and that could in turn feed into that situation with, you know, the average age of contributing employees, that may go down. So is there a hope or reason to hope that could go up under a Biden presidency, especially with a control of the Senate, if that were to happen, and which someone suggested we contribute to trying to make happen? So do you understand my question?
I think I do indirectly, and let me respond to it in a way. There are a number of pension proposals similar to 2008 and 2009 that have been pending before Congress, which obviously, because of the disconnect between the House and the Senate, haven't gone that far. They would allow for smoothing of the current downturn in regards to investment returns, and actually help us bridge the storm, if you will, going forward. I would hope that they would get more favorable consideration. I know there is recognition and sympathy. I don't want to say direct support, but I think it's pretty clear that we would have a better situation with the Biden presidency. Obviously, the stumbling block is going to be, and Jim Ellenberger talked, is where the Senate sits. I mean, Mitch McConnell ain't going to give us the time of day. If we had a more balanced Senate, I think there are enough reasonable Republicans combined with the Democratic, majority, even at 50, that we would have a fair shot in doing some things in regards to smoothing our losses and impacting things that would be more favorable to the plan. These proposals have been floating around for several years. They've been worked on both the House and the Senate side. While there is verbal support in concept in the Senate, all roads stop at the majority leader's office in the Senate, and we all know where that leads.
Thank you.
That's a very helpful perspective. Thank you.
I think this is